Hey, everybody. Welcome to Game Mess Mornings with me, Jeff Grubb, your host from GiantBomb.com. Thank you for tuning in. In this episode, we're going to be talking about how video games are worthless and Nintendo adds even more 3D platformers that aren't Donkey Kong 64 to NSO. It's going to be a good one because we have Sean TurboShawn McDowell on the show. Sean, how are you doing?
I'm doing existential crisis mode because I realized how much I've taken on here this week. Jan is on assignment. He's out at the Game Awards, and I kicked him out. I said, "No,
Yes.
Jan, we'll be fine. Don't you freaking worry. We got this one." And then I remember, oh wait, I actually have to do the work that I signed up for, but it'll be fine.
Just eliminate the self, become nothing but the work. You know, at a certain point, that's all you got to
I have become computer destroyer of worlds.
Oh man! All right, well, be careful out there. Don't step on any toes by becoming computer.
Oh yeah, did I just call myself Skynet? Shit. Okay, moving on.
Yeah, hey, I'm getting excited for the Game Awards. Actually, like it's gonna not the awards themselves. Whatever the show is, whatever it is. But I think it's gonna be a pretty big show in terms of announcements. So I'm looking forward to that. Where are you at with it? Where have you ever been with the Game Awards?
I mean, for me, the Game Awards, unfortunately, is always the thing I look forward to the announcements of. I hope, I don't know. I feel like from last year, I know our setup was a little messy, so we missed a little bit of it, but catching some of them afterwards, like the speeches were better, like they were a little more respectful of that and everything like that. So I do hope that, we'll be streaming from home this time, so our setups will be better across the board. And so I think maybe we'll be able to focus on when, if devs are given time to actually have a spotlight, accept awards at the Game Awards. I think that would be nice to see this year. But yeah, as always, I am, of course, looking forward to the announcements. The industry looks to this event now for those. So I expect some big stuff.
We'll be talking over that tomorrow, everybody. Oh man, there's a USB-C cable. I was looking for one of these. That's just where my brain is at, everybody. My good camera has been broken since yesterday. I haven't had time to restart. I should just do that. I bet that will fix it. Yeah, I'm sure it will. I just haven't done it. It's USB. When USB begins acting up, which is what has happened, I'm blaming my hub, Sean. When that begins happening, though, my first thought is motherboard's dying. This motherboard's just dying. It's probably not that, but it's happened before where it's like I went through all these troubleshooting problems, and it was like, no, that's just the motherboard telling you it's fucking dead. So
I know you're still getting things set up. Is that the old PC still?
This is still the old PC. I'm planning to shift to the new PC when I get back from our Game of the Year stuff. That'll be a
gotcha. Get yourself a nice USB hub, a nice new 3.0 one. That's why I got 7 ports.
I like the USB 2.0 hubs because, again, the USB 3.0 gave me trouble early on, so I'm traumatized from when I'm too many things plugged into 3.0 and it wouldn't work. But you're right. Maybe I should also
They've solved it. It's okay. We've moved on, Jeff. You'll be good.
Don't trust it. It really was just the Oculus Rift that had it was itself a USB hub, and it had 100 things internally counting as different USB things. It was crazy. All right. Let's get on with the show. Let's explain what we do here. We're Giant Bomb, video game doofuses. We're out here on our own because we're independent games media. That means we need you to come through and help support us and ensure that we can continue to cover this industry in a way that feels human and authentic. That's our whole bag over here. I think we're hitting our stride with it in a real strong way. Real proud of the way everything's going over here at Giant Bomb right now. And we have the confidence to do that because we do have you at our backs. You went to giantbomb.com/join. You became premium members. And we're so thankful to everyone who has done that. It really does make a major difference. And it really is the thing that will keep this whole operation going. Once again, thank you, everybody. That's giantbomb.com/join. Become a premium member. It really does help. As far as this show goes, most weekdays, I, Jeff Grubb, will help piece your gaming life back together. That includes breaking news and maybe even some of our own original reporting. For all these topics, I'll get the input of a bona fide expert who will make me look smart. If you are watching live on Twitch, welcome. You can always listen to the show later on podcast feeds by searching for Game Mess Mornings or find the RSS feed on giantbomb.com. You can also catch the show later with chapters and timestamps on YouTube. Hello, YouTube. All right, we have a lot to get into, so let's start the morning mess with Call of Duty will no longer release back-to-back Black Ops or Modern Warfare games. This is from Chris Scullion at VGC. The studios behind the Call of Duty games have pledged to change their release strategy going forward, acknowledging that not every player is happy with the current state of the series. A message posted on the series' official website and signed by, quote, the Call of Duty team, addressed some players' claims that the latest release, Call of Duty Black Ops 7, wasn't up to the series' previous standards. Call of Duty has enjoyed long-standing success because of all of you, a passionate community that demands excellence and deserves nothing less, the message read. We also know that for some of you, the franchise has not met your expectations fully. To be fully clear, we know what you expect, and rest assured we will deliver and over-deliver on those expectations as we move forward. As part of this plan, the team has announced that it will be changing its strategy going forward, declaring, we will no longer be doing back-to-back releases of Modern Warfare or Black Ops games. The reasons are many, but the main one is to ensure we provide an absolutely unique experience each and every year. Man, part of me thinks like, I don't know. Part of me always thought that this whole Black Ops, Modern Warfare, like sort of strategy was always just a stopgap, Sean. This always felt like a response to some other problem of trying to get development back on track. I was not expecting them to like go back to this with like next year, the next 2 years releases, like Modern Warfare again. That would have been crazy. So part of me is like, okay, they already weren't going to do that, so it's an easy thing to promise. But do you think they have like addressed the issues that led them to this place this point in the first place? Because making these games is still big and complicated, and if anything has sort of a bump in the road, they're going to find themselves in a situation where it's like it might be hard to put out a Call of Duty game next year, and we could be in a what was the one that didn't have the single player campaign?
Modern Warfare 3.
Yeah, so it's like they could be in a situation like that. Yeah, right. Which one
you mean that didn't have one at all? Like back in the day was Black Ops 4.
Yeah, the one that was like, where they were planning to have a campaign and then they didn't, and they still just put out a game that year. Yes, I think
they pivoted to Black Ops with that, or sorry, Blackout with that one.
Yes,
Battle Royale. Yeah,
right. So it's like they are still going to have to like rely on all these studios. They're going to have to churn through one studio at a time, put out a new game. When they have tried to veer away from Black Ops and Modern Warfare recently, it maybe hasn't always worked out quite as well. So it's like they still have all the same problems. What do you think they can do here? And really, what do you think the future of Call of Duty is?
Well, this is a weird one because this kind of reads to me as sorry we got caught. Because the reporting on Modern Warfare was, I think maybe even you just know this, with MW3 was supposed to be DLC for MW2.
Yes, that's right. Yes.
That's what everyone was saying. And so we just assumed that was a similar situation here with 7, because it really feels like it was DLC for 6. It was adding on what was already in 6, and then adding a single player campaign that is stitched together other things. And it, like you said, with a stopgap, that's the most logical way to do a stopgap. If you insist on putting out a $70 product, is turn that DLC that was hefty and make it the full size game. But like people noticed. Did they just think people wouldn't? And that's what the statement reads to me, is them putting out this statement to the press in hopes that it trickles down to all the Call of Duty fans saying like, oh, you don't like this strategy that we came up with, this well thought out strategy? You know what? We won't do that strategy anymore. We'll go back to the way you guys like us to do things. Please like us. That's what it reads like to me. And I imagine that's what the business behind it is.
I think it's they got away with it at least once, and then when they tried to do it again, you're right, people had learned, and the excitement was not there for Black Ops 7, and now that's been reflected, and we're getting this message instead of the typical expected message from the Call of Duty team, which is, we sold so many copies and made so much money in X number of days or weeks, and we didn't get that. Clearly, we're going to see probably reflected in the like Circana numbers when Matt puts that out for the launch month of Call of Duty. We're probably going to see that game's not going to maybe be number 1 for the year, which is unheard of in any year where there's not a new Rockstar game for a Call of Duty.
Right. Would it be, do you think Battlefield, or
I think it's going to be Battlefield. Battlefield 6 is, I think, going to still be number 1 for the year. That doesn't mean Call of Duty couldn't catch up, but EA, I think, came out after Call of Duty came out, and it's like Battlefield's the #1 best-selling shooter of the year or something like that. Them just basically saying it.
Okay.
So we'll see it, and I think Battlefield continued to sell very well.
Right. Yeah, I do think there's just fatigue with the series right now. Even my
Yes.
friends, we play Warzone all the time because that's easy to get them into every time because free. But some of them are still subscribed to Game Pass and stuff. Some do still buy the Call of Duty game every year. Nobody wanted to play Black Ops 7 because they were all like, didn't we just play Black Ops 6? Why would I want 7? I have a new Black Ops game. Like, didn't we just get burned with this with Modern Warfare? That's what they're saying to me. And, obviously they know I'm in the industry, so I tell them about some stuff. I keep them up to date. That was before I even mentioned anything about Black Ops 7. They had already known all this information, done their own research. So I'm like, okay, if my more casual friends know, then this must be trickling out there. Like people, not everyone is super well informed, but they ain't stupid. They know what they don't like. And I just think Activision needs to not be so cocky about their Call of Duty releases.
I mean, eventually this does have. I mean, and when I say eventually, like a grand timeline. Eventually, this does have to break where it's like we will get to a point where they have to figure out some way to go through a calendar year without releasing a real new Call of Duty. Like the math and the physics behind it eventually will just break. Where it's like the number of person hours it takes to produce these things, they simply will not be able to buy because it'll just
No.
be too much.
Even the simple answers that we would like to see, like CEOs taking pay cuts and stuff like
Yeah.
that, even that isn't necessarily enough to make up for how many studios they've thrown at this game. I saw I think when Lexi was reviewing Black Ops 7, she posted the startup screen for that game, and it has 13 studio icons on it or something wild like that, and she was just like, this is so depressing. I'm like, yep, look at all these. That's like, remember when Xbox got up on stage and they're like, all these studios are making games for Xbox? It was like the same graphic, the same type of graphic.
Mhm.
Think about all those studios could have been making other stuff right now, but nope. Gotta keep the Call of Duty machine fed.
Yep. The Call of Duty will continue to be a very successful franchise. It'll make a lot of money. It's not going anywhere, but it does feel like this is a bit of an inflection point. They will not just need to use this as an opportunity to remind fans, we're going to make the game you want to make. They will have to come up with new solutions. They will have to sort of transition this game into a future where it can be a little bit more nimble in terms of how it responds to, how people are playing games and how they're purchasing games. Obviously,
Right.
the thing is with Call of Duty, the way that they solved that in the past is they kind of just expanded Call of Duty into all those places. We have Call of Duty and Call of Duty Mobile. We have Call of
Yeah.
Duty and Call of Duty Warzone. And they've sort of saturated all of those points, and they are already making a ton of money from all these other things. It doesn't leave them a lot of opportunity to sort of be like, okay, let's try something a little bit different with the core game. The core game kind of needs to continue to be what it is. I don't like, they can't just now have only a free to play Call of Duty at some point 10, 15 years from now, even unless things change drastically. There's too much money on the line. Microsoft spent too much money
Yeah.
on this thing. So it does kind of feel like it's like locked in place. It has to sort of be this thing. And that's where I'm like, oh, it's going to be very hard for them to continue to figure out how that works, especially on an annual basis.
Right. That's the problem that they're in. And speaking to something near and dear to my heart, that's what we've seen over with Pokemon, right? Like at a
Yes,
certain
right.
point, Game Freak realized, oh, they won't just enjoy the slop every time. Like this is still selling, but ooh, the people are actually mad about this one, like on all our social media channels and the YouTube comments and everything like that. Maybe we should slow down, and that's why we don't have a new mainline one of those right now. I think that's like you said, the inflection point. That's where we're seeing Call of Duty here. Even if this one still sells millions and millions of copies, at a certain point you see the decline happen, and they need to
Right.
prevent that from happening because so much is riding on Call of Duty being this gigantic thing for Activision, Microsoft, with Activision under them and everything like that. Yeah, it's gonna be devastating to a lot of people if something happens to Call of Duty. And I'm not saying like we need to worry about Call of Duty. We need to save the franchise. No, I'm just worried about the people who could have their jobs impacted and everything like that, because that would be devastating.
Yeah, and I think it's not humorous, but interesting. Like the point of comparison for what like how nimble this company is for this franchise is Pokemon. It's like is the Pokemon company, is Game Freak even a little bit more responsive than the Call of Duty teams? And
Well,
maybe because Call of Duty
there's
teams are
a
like spread all over the world, and it's much more difficult to steer that boat.
yeah, the grand total number of people working on Pokemon is the size of like
Uh
one of
huh.
those studios working
Uh
on
huh.
Call of Duty. So yeah,
Changes things a little bit, absolutely. So yeah,
yeah.
maybe actually a little bit more nimble. That's crazy. All right, let's keep going here. Take-Two establishes new 2K studio led by former execs from The Initiative. This is from Sophie McAvoy at GamesIndustry.biz. Take-Two Interactive has hired The Initiative's Darren Gallagher and Brian Horton to form a new studio at 2K. Gallagher and Horton will head an all-new venture following the closure of their former studio. All-new venture important there because they're not bringing anything with them that they worked on at the Initiative. There was like news stories shortly after the Initiative was shuttered by Microsoft after they canceled Perfect Dark because it's a bad corporation, and they were like, "Hey, maybe Take Two will take on the Initiative, take on Perfect Dark, make that game, finish it." And then it broke down because Take Two was like, "If we're doing this, we get the IP." And Microsoft's, "Well, no, I'm still using it." That's well, no, clearly not. But
No.
yeah, that so it broke down. There was that chance that could happen. It's not going to happen now. Instead, Take Two is like, let's try something from the ground up. And so they brought these people in to kind of make a whole new studio. We don't have any additional details to share at this time, but look forward to sharing updates on their work in the future. I guess I'm a little encouraged by this idea that a publisher like Take Two is still starting new studios. It did not feel like that was in the air right now, that these companies would feel good about that. But maybe they were just very actually impressed by what they saw and like believed in it when Microsoft didn't. And they're like, hey, try to make something either like that or take your talents over here and make a game. I mean, Take Two will very soon here be in a situation where there's going to be a lot of money coming in because of Rockstar's Grand Theft Auto 6, and they're going to want to invest that money to try to continue to have big hits in the future. So
Hmm.
maybe now is the time to make a new studio. What do you think when you see this story?
I think the key word for me is execs because execs don't make a studio, in my
Yeah,
opinion. Like they are part of it. Every team needs a leader, and the best projects that get out the door are the ones with good leaders. But this is not the Initiative has been saved. This is two execs are getting another chance at this, whereas everyone else not so much. So it doesn't necessarily inspire much confidence in me. Like, okay, cool, new Take Two studio. I don't. I don't specifically see the through line here because maybe it'll be different. Maybe they'll do something completely unrelated. Maybe they
maybe.
will bring what they were doing with the Initiative over and like have a second chance at that with whoever they end up hiring. But I don't know. To me, it's kind of like, all right, good for you, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, the hope would be like they take people with them, and then I'm sure they will.
That's the
But
hope. That's the
yes,
hope.
but
Yeah.
that's a messy thing, and no
Right.
guarantees for sure. Horton, Darren Gallagher, I think kind of goes back to God, where did he come from? He Crystal Dynamics, I think that was where he was, and it was his idea to
That would
like
make sense.
have the Initiative work with Crystal Dynamics and
Right.
stuff on Perfect Dark. Horton was creative director at Xbox, or yeah, whatever that means. He was like oversaw the creative vision and execution.
Titles are made up over there, man.
Yeah, he oversaw the creative vision and execution at the Initiative during the project. So yeah, okay, we'll see. I do hope that they are able to like build a sizable team and take on a lot of those people. The Initiative was never
Yeah.
that huge, so hopefully they're able to bring that full team back for the most part.
That'd be nice. Yeah.
Uh, all right, let's hit this next one. Nintendo expands Switch Online's N64 library with two classic platformers. This is from Jim Norman at Nintendo Life. Nintendo has
Oh, I haven't
today
seen this yet.
announced that it will soon be expanding the Nintendo Switch Online Plus Expansion Pack N64 library with a pair of classic 3D platformers. Both Rayman 2: The Great Escape and Tonic Trouble will be added to
Oh,
the service on the 17th of December. That's this week. So expect to see a lot of floating hands. That's like, yeah, a week from now, I guess. Floating hands, feet with no arms and legs attached to them. Yeah, those are Ubisoft platformers for the N64. Tonic Trouble is actually before Rayman 2. It's sort of like a proto Rayman, 3D Rayman. It's not bad. It's a pretty good game, and Rayman 2 is an actual classic. So this is pretty good. But man, that Donkey Kong 64 is still not on there. It's weird at this point. They're adding Ubisoft 3D platformers, but still no Donkey Kong 64. Any love for Rayman or Tonic Trouble from you, Sean?
Definitely not Tonic Trouble. I had to like Google it right there and say,
Yeah, it's a
oh,
weird
right,
one.
that game. Yeah,
It was, I
okay.
think it was like an early one too. Like, yeah,
Yeah, Rayman 2 is good though. Like I played that. I enjoyed that. And no Mario 64 or something, which is kind of always the problem with any 3D platformer on N64 was, hey, they had the best one.
Yep.
Maybe even to this day, right out the gate. So it's hard to compete with that, you know. Yeah, with,
Yeah.
with the whole Donkey Kong thing, like I do still think they still have to license that, right? Because it is a rare game. Like they have to
I
do the co-publishing thing,
I
right?
don't know for Donkey Kong 90 or 94, Donkey Kong 64. I don't think so. Oh, in that deal, they probably would have had the full copyright and the copyright of
Okay.
the code and all that stuff. I mean, maybe they have to have like an agreement to have like the Rare logo show up at the
That's
beginning
what,
of the game.
yeah, that's all I mean is because they do own that game. It's just a matter of like the Rare copyright and everything like that. I
Yeah,
thought it was like
I,
they have to negotiate on per game basis nowadays, but maybe
maybe,
I'm
but
remembering wrong.
for something like Donkey Kong 64, I would imagine they would have made the agreement early on to be like, no, we own this, and this logo showing up should not be a problem.
Okay.
And if it was, they would just take it out. Yeah, I think that's just them being a little bit strange about that game in general, and about the Rare games. You're right. There's something else happening there because we have there's Rare games that Nintendo doesn't own. Right? There's GoldenEye on there.
Yeah.
So yeah, Nintendo owns a big part of that, but like, is Perfect Dark on there as well? But they do own GoldenEye. Maybe it's Perfect Dark that's on there that they uh don't fully own. Either way, they've done the work with Microsoft before, so they figured out for these other games, Donkey Kong 64. Who's to say what the reason is? But yeah, overall, how are you feeling about NSO these days? Whenever one of these pops up, I do still get pretty excited, and I don't necessarily know why, Sean. I'm
Because you're
like,
a mark, Jeff Grubb.
okay,
You're a
yeah, see, I don't know
Nintendo
why I'm
shill.
such
You
a
have a
mark and a
Nintendo
shill.
podcast.
Yes, that's a big part of it for sure. But yeah, I like playing these games on there. But I say that, and then I'll play a little bit of them, and I usually don't play a ton, especially the N64 games, especially these days when I have a 3D. But how are you feeling
Yeah,
about it?
Jeff, do a thought experiment with me, okay?
Please.
Look directly to your right.
Okay.
Are you looking at a machine that can play N64 games?
Yeah. Well, yeah.
So why are you excited about this, you mark?
Now tell me to look to my left.
Yes,
there's one there too.
Yeah, I'm not. I won't worry about what's over there. I know what's over there.
This is the Shoot N64, and then the Analog 3D is right over there. So
Yeah,
yes.
there we go.
I'm literally in every direction, surrounded by N64s.
surrounded by- I assumed it would be a handheld. I know it'd be shoot hardware.
Yep.
Yeah, for me, it's just I'll emulate this stuff, like, or I'll looking at Analog 3D because, like, dang, that thing looks nice. We did
Sure.
that quick look, and I could just pop a flash card in there and have access to all the games because I'm not getting into retro game collecting nowadays. That's for damn
No.
sure. But otherwise, yeah, emulation has gotten a lot better. It's still not quite there with 64, as we saw with Nintendo launching the NSO service. It wasn't perfect. And that's kind of how I feel about NSO in general. Like, a lot of these games I still like even own in some capacity. I've purchased them on some platform. A couple I even have like old copies of. So, morality, I don't really care about that either. So, yeah, I'm just going to do what's most accessible. And upgrading my NSO, I'm still on the base plan, is not the way that I would probably be doing that. So, yeah, it's when I see announcements like this, it doesn't do anything for me, but I do like that they are adding more to the service, that more people have these games accessible to them. It's we can't underestimate how valuable it is that like the average person can go back and play retro games, and we just have to hope that they're in a good form when they do so.
Yeah, speaking of N64, the Analog 3D Fantastic Colors did just go on sale while we were doing the show. People have started jumping in. I'm picking them up in chat. Someone mentioned, let's see, the Grape, Fire, Jungle, and Gold Analog 3D have all already sold out. So there you
Okay,
go.
I was looking at the gold one.
Yeah, the I have the Fantastic Orange Real N64. That's the one that I'm literally touching right now. Hi everybody, I'm touching my Fantastic Orange N64. I would actually honestly probably just get that again. I was thinking about getting the Jungle Green, but then I talked myself out of it. I'm not getting one, and I'm glad they're selling out, so I can't get one. How many N64 controllers do I have, Kyle? I have a few original, but at this point I have like a ton of those 8-bit Do 3Ds already. They're or 8-bit Do 64. Those are I've got like 5 of those already, so it's bad. Or I have 4, and then the original colored one is coming whenever that releases, which I think is sometime next year.
For now, that's my compromise. Yeah, I have one that I've been using on my PC for months now because that controller came out a while ago. And then I have the original colors one. And then if I want to pick up and play on original hardware, I'll try to get 3D at some point if that's still appealing to me.
Yeah,
I still have Superstation's still coming. We still got those Superstations coming, and those are misters, which basically does the same thing. So I'm doing my best to hold off for that.
Yep, and I expect that to get quite a bit of support in terms of whatever bespoke needs it might have. Which it's a mister, probably shouldn't have a ton, but still
not much. Yeah.
Yeah, I there's a lot of ways to play N64 games, and emulation is improving all the time. It's a little bit different than the time when you needed plugins and all that stuff.
Oh yeah.
And those 8-bit Do 64 controllers are great on PC. It's a good time to be looking back at these games for sure. All right, let's take a quick break. When we come back, we'll talk about how video games are completely worthless. If you want to skip out on these ads, we have an ad-free version of the video show and ad-free version of the audio show. Those go up on Giant Bomb. If you go to giantbomb.com/join, you can become a premium member. Find those there. In the meantime, we will be right back. All right, it's Game Mess Mornings. We're back at it. Jeff Grubb, TurboShawn. Let's do this. Netflix didn't attribute any value to Warner Brothers games in acquisition deal. This is from Jim Norman at Nintendo Life. We're sure that we won't be looking back on this quote with a suspicious eye down the line. Following Netflix's $82.7 billion acquisition agreement with Warner Brothers Discovery, later challenged by a separate offer from Paramount, Netflix co-CEO, president, and director Gregory Peters has said WB Games didn't really factor into the company's decision. That's according to a recent earnings call where Peters and Theodore Sarandos, the other co-CEO, were asked if Warner Brothers assets would enhance or accelerate success in Netflix's gaming plans. While they definitely have been doing some great work in the game space, Peters responded, we actually didn't attribute any value to that from the get-go because they're relatively minor compared to the grand scheme of things. I guess he went on to point out they got great studios and great folks working over there. You paid them lip service. I mean, of course, the person making the purchase is like going to say something like that because if they attributed value for it, they'd have to pay that value. So the person spending the money is going to be a little bit more dismissive. Still, it's like shitty to hear, shitty to see. And
what's the Big Lebowski quote? You're not wrong. You're just an asshole.
Yes, you're just an asshole. And it's I think it's a relatively small thing until you have something like a Hogwarts Legacy, which clearly made a ton of money. It made all the money in the world. So it's not that small piece of the pie when you compare that to some. But But the thing is, for Netflix, their business, they do only see things through the lens of subscriptions and what they can do to sort of bolster that. Video games have not been solved in terms of that, even with Game Pass. Like, people have not abandoned purchasing games in the way that they have mostly abandoned purchasing movies. Or like music, which they've completely they completely abandoned purchasing music, right? So for Netflix, the value there is hey, can this create a new way to get people into our ongoing toll booth where we stand between them and the stuff they want? And video games only contribute to that in a minor way, and they've been working on finding ways to solve that, and they themselves have not really come up with much. So the value of these things is separate from it. Value is always determined by every individual in the moment. And for Netflix, the way they value things, it doesn't sort of mesh. That doesn't mean it's actually worthless or something like that. And I bet there's going to be a time where like they have to sell these companies or whatever, and their tune will change. They will say the exact opposite about all these things. I That said, the future of these studios under Netflix and or Paramount, to me, does seem even more treacherous than what it's been under WB as a terrible corporation on its own. I don't have much faith for the long-term future of something like a Rocksteady. Sean, how about you?
Yeah, I'm a little worried about some friends scattered throughout WB Games and just those studios on the whole, because like I said with some other stuff at the top of the show, seems like it's a running theme of, boy, I hope these people get jobs, can retain jobs, because talk like this is what makes me not confident that they will have them in the near future here, which is an insane thing to talk about when we're talking like you said, like I don't necessarily want to talk about, but yeah, like Hogwarts Legacy and Mortal Kombat and all these different like major IP. Like I forget how exactly this all works with like the Lego games and everything like that, but we're talking about games that are known for being big within video gaming. Just that Hollywood will not see it the same way, and that's what Netflix is looking at. And even if they are, like you said, trying to downplay it a little bit for the acquisition, they're also not wrong that it is smaller than any potential that they have there for streaming movies and TV shows and stuff like that. And it's just, that sucks. Come on, like, so support every part of this and not, frankly, have the language like we may not be looking at some of these studios at some point here.
Yep. It's Netflix was even more dismissive of some of the other aspects of the Warner Brothers business. For example, as part of this deal, they would not be acquiring the cable channels like CNN and stuff like that. So like that's some of the Paramount's like, hey, if we got it, we'll take on all of this. We want all of it. Netflix would probably find a buyer. It'd be like a situation where when Disney bought Fox, they had to find a purchaser for all of the Fox Sports channels because they already owned ESPN, and that would be a violation. This wouldn't be the exact same thing, but it would be them trying to find a deal partner to send all that stuff to instead. And that's just because for Netflix, a cable channel, it has nothing to do with the way that they see about the future of making money with their business model.
Yeah.
Yes, antithetical. And then the video games are sort of like a step up from that. But it's just not. They want to be the number one subscription service in the world, which they probably are pretty close to being. If they're not, they have like 300 million to 500 million subscribers, something like that. That's a ton of people, and they're trying to find the next opportunity for growth. And having all of HBO's content is going to be the key to that, as well as HBO subscribers. Although I bet there's a lot of overlap there, but that means they could just charge those people more going forward.
Yeah.
All right. PlayStation's Saros and Last of Us co-director's new game confirmed for the Game Awards. This is from Andy Robinson at VGC. PlayStation will debut a new look at Housemarque's Saros at the Game Awards this week. That's according to a fresh round of teasers from organizers ahead of the Game Awards taking place this Thursday, December 11th. Again, we're going to be talking over that, everybody. Come hang out with us. It'll be a good time. Saros, the next game from the creators of Returnal, is one of PlayStation's big 2026 games. Set to release in February, Saros was revealed earlier this year. The game stars Rahul Kohli and will continue Returnal's themes of sci-fi action. The games don't appear to be connected narratively. In addition, the Los Angeles show will debut the first look at the debut game from Wildflower Interactive. Wildflower is the new studio co-founded by Bruce Staley, co-game director on Uncharted 2, The Last of Us, and Uncharted 4. According to Wildflower's website, the studio is making smallish, creatively charged, uniquely stylized games that explore the possibilities of the medium. There was I think a brief look at this game. And it looks smaller and interesting. And I'm like, I welcome this from big names in the industry of people trying to make smaller, more creatively charged games. I think that's actually a good way of putting it. That's a couple of things confirmed for the show. We're also, we talked about it on the Bombcast yesterday. Divinity seems to be confirmed for Divinity Original Sin 2 coming to the PS5. So kind of a new version of that game. And then it sounds like the statue is a reference to maybe some new Divinity thing, not an original Sin game, but some other Divinity sort of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, Resident Evil Requiem is now going to be there in some way. At least I'm pretty sure that's like at this point
I
confirmed.
wonder what they could show.
I wonder what they could show now that we've seen just that art of that dude's face just in the background there. Yep. And then Assassin's Creed 4 Resynced Black Flag will also show up at the show, which, that's Ubisoft there. And Ubisoft said Prince of Persia won't be, and that's apparently coming out early next year. I guess that's them probably just being like, if we spend the money, which I think they probably do have to spend the money to get their stuff into the Game Awards, it's worth it for Assassin's Creed, not worth it for Prince of Persia, just the scale of those two things. But yeah, I mean, that list right there is nothing to sneeze at. And then, if Half-Life 3 gets announced, that's a pretty good show right there.
What an insane sentence. If Half-Life 3 gets announced this week, I don't know, maybe.
Tomorrow. Yeah. That's where we're at, where we could be one day away from that being real. We talked a little bit about the Game Awards, but I think this is a pretty eclectic list of different kinds of games, different kinds of people. I do think the Game Awards has become the marquee way to show off your game if you have something around this time of year. It's just there's so many people watching, and it seems like a pretty decent platform for this thing of I have a game, I want to tell the world about it. It does seem like it accomplishes that.
Christian's yelling in chat, where's Gabe's boat? Where is it? It's still so bizarre to me that this has basically become E3 at this point.
Yeah.
Like this is the show of announcements. This is announcement season outside of SGF, which is the actual E3 replacement. And I don't know, I've always been critical of that because I think the two things should be separate. I think if you're going to have an award show, have it be an award show. We do have actual award shows in the industry that I implore people to remember when it comes to things like the DICE Awards and stuff. Yeah. This is still fun though, and it is fun to see all the announcements. And I think it's cool that there is this one platform that people can have to get their stuff in, have everyone in the world basically look at it if you're interested in games. It's unfortunate that there's so much funkiness around this, and with the way Jeff handles some of the business of it all and everything like that. I don't know. It's a weird position to be in to simultaneously, from a media perspective, be worried about it, but then also on the flip side, be excited about it as someone just viewing.
Yeah. And again, my view of Jeff Keighley, who I think is a fine person when I've spoken to him. He's a bit of a video game industry warlord, right? He just has his section of the industry kind of cordoned off, and you got to come to him and pay him the money to get his get into his shows, and it's about enriching his business, which I've accepted that, especially because doing this long enough, comparing it to the old days of the Spike Video Game Awards, and it's what were we doing then? What was the purpose of the show then? Then it was to sell us ads for whatever Spike TV was putting on. So Girls Gone Wild or whatever shit. At least now the ads for...
I was looking away because of tech issues. What the hell are you talking about over here?
What I talk about on every show, Girls Gone Wild.
Okay.
And instead, it's what we're getting now is commercials for new video games, and that is a little bit better. And then maybe Gillette's Chic Man or whatever it was called, the Gillette.
Oh yeah, was it Hydro Man or something?
Hydro Man, yeah.
Yeah,
right.
Jesus Christ.
I'm ready to see more Saros. I'll take a look at whatever this Last of Us director's Bruce Daly's new game, and then just a couple of surprises would go over real well and make the whole thing worth it. Hydrobot, that's what it was. Okay. Disappointed fans blast Skyrim Switch 2 port over massive input lag. It really is unplayable. Sean, have you seen this? Have you
no, I haven't.
This at all? Okay, I'm gonna be.
I mean, I know it's out. I don't know the issues with it.
Okay, yes. The amount of input lag people are talking about, I was like, what? All right. From Tay Garcia at DualShockers. Few games can boast about having graced every platform imaginable over the past decade, but The Elder Scrolls V Skyrim is certainly one of them, since it's officially playable on practically every console from the past 3 generations. And with the arrival of the Nintendo Switch 2 earlier this year, the trend continues. Recently, Bethesda announced that the highly acclaimed RPG was on its way to Nintendo's newest console, and its arrival should have been a moment of celebration. However, things did not go exactly as everyone expected. Expectations and hope were that the Switch 2 version of Skyrim would live up to the acclaimed game, bringing the classic experience smoothly to yet another modern console, meaning it should, at the very least, be fully playable. Unfortunately, that does not appear to be the case. Shortly after the port's launch, reports from disappointed players began popping up across community platforms like Reddit, alleging that the game is riddled with technical shortcomings that render it unplayable. Skyrim's Switch 2 version is crippled by enormous input lag, wrote one user, who went on to explain his frustration with the Switch 2 port. Not only are the visuals only marginally better and the frame rate still 30 frames per second, which is wild to me, although I know why that company ends up doing something like that. They just don't want to QA again for 60 frames per second. But there's nearly a full second of delay after each input. What?
What?
I gotta assume there's something happening there. Like, is everyone experience a full second of input delay? That's crazy bad. That's something everyone would notice.
milliseconds of lag. That is insane. Like, the frame of reference, if people don't follow this, like, people start complaining about input lag at like 100 milliseconds, like the people who really notice it, and then it's like above 100 is where like other people start to notice it. What do you mean 1 full second, 1000 milliseconds?
Right, so like 100 milliseconds of input delay would be like, especially at 30 frames per second, like 3 frames, somewhere around there. This would be all 30 frames or somewhere around there. Yeah. Crazy. I wonder if there's like some contributing factor to some of these people who are experiencing it, but it does sound like most people are experiencing some sort of noticeable input lag that they will have to address. That is completely unacceptable. I do find a game that has that sort of problem unplayable. The 30 frames per second, I do not hold out hope that they will do anything about turning that 60 frames per second instead. But why, man? Why Bethesda? Every time they do something with anything, they always find some new exciting way to have a bug be the key marquee takeaway from whatever they're releasing.
Yeah, this is one of those things, one of those QA things where I'm like, did nobody catch this? Or like, I can't imagine that's the case. So y'all just, you thought it was good to push through that? Come on now. Like, you have to know people are gonna notice that, right? That is wild. Do we know specifically like how or who this is ported by? Was it internal Bethesda?
I've not heard. We probably could get those answers. Like, someone probably could go through the credits at this point and see if there's anything in there. This is a Switch 2 edition of the anniversary game. Came out on Switch, which was an update to the Nintendo Switch 1 version that came out in 2017. They've done this a bunch of times now, so they should be pretty intimately aware of what all the goings on inside of a Switch and now Switch 2. So,
and if I saw correctly, this version still has the Zelda content in it, right? Which means that there is still some Nintendo collaboration there, and so kind of a bad look for something that I'm assuming Nintendo would be pushing quite a bit.
Yeah, I mean, Skyrim sold very well on the Switch 1, so I think they will be annoyed by this, I'm sure. They'll update this. This has to be fixed. That is too crazy. And a lot of people are reporting exactly that, about a 1 second of delay, and it's immediately noticeable, which of course it would be. All right, UK Prime Minister calls Rockstar's firing of GTA 6 devs deeply concerning. This is from John Walker at Kotaku. The recent firings of 34 Grand Theft Auto 6 developers at Rockstar UK have generated a lot of suspicion that the action was a response to these workers being unionized. Protests have ensued, and today the topic was raised in the UK's Parliament, with Prime Minister Keir Starmer, who sucks, describing the situation as deeply concerning. The 34 members of the Scottish development team were fired in October based on claims of gross misconduct by Rockstar, but this was quickly refuted by the Independent Workers' Union of Great Britain, representing unionized developers, saying that it was in fact an act of union busting. Rockstar has heavily denied this, but the IWGB has pressed ahead with a case for unfair dismissal, and the protests continue. This has led to Keir Starmer to say, "It's a deeply concerning case. Every worker has the right to join a trade union, and we're determined to strengthen workers' rights and ensure they don't face unfair consequences for being part of a union. Ministers will look into the particular case and into this particular case that he raises and keep him updated. So I don't think that when Rockstar was doing the math of is this going to be worth it, and this is my opinion based on some reporting that alleges that what the reason that these people were fired was they were sharing information about their jobs, not their work, not Grand Theft Auto 6, and a Discord server that is private but included some people who no longer work at Rockstar. That is the gross misconduct that Rockstar was saying. Oh, you are sharing classified, NDA'd information. So my opinion on this is that when Rockstar was doing the math, they were like, hey, we could see some backlash here, but whatever, it'll be worth it not to have to deal with whatever a union is going to want. And we will have to deal with the union because if these final few people join it, it'll reach a certain legal threshold here in the UK where we have to acknowledge it and begin working with it. And they're like, okay, so let's go ahead and pull the ripcord on that. And I don't think they were expecting it to draw the attention of the Prime Minister of the UK. That is like probably going to be a little bit scary to them. This could turn into something bigger. Will it still be enough to put a dent into the amount of money that they will still make with Grand Theft Auto 6? Probably not. Probably not. Especially for a big, a corporation in Scotland that's going to be like, hey, we are one of your major producers of entertainment and culture and money. We're going to throw our weight around, and it's not like Keir Starmer is he's Labor, right? That's a joke of a party right now. They're not doing anything to actually protect people. They're not doing anything to actually, they have so many things that and it won't last long because they're not going to be in charge because they're not doing anything that the people want. And so they're going to lose the next election as well. So it'll get even worse when the Tories come back or whatever. I'm only vaguely aware of how all things work over there, but that's my basic understanding of how it's going. So maybe, the bet here from Rockstar could still work out because maybe this will just draw some sort of tisks for now, and it won't ever actually turn into anything real. Although I hope the people who work there, who are suing, and they got the IWGB at their back, just see that through because it does seem almost certainly like they were unfairly dismissed from their jobs just for trying to join a union. What do you think happened here?
Yeah, I think you wrapped up perfectly everything that I've been able to follow from the messiness of all this. I definitely agree with everything you had to say, and I do agree that Rockstar probably thinks that this won't affect them, or at least in a meaningful way, and that's why they could get away with it. We can only speculate at this point the the reasons behind all this and the calculus they do in weighing how will this look, how will this portray us, and everything like this if we do go out and pull something like this. So I don't even necessarily want to speculate too much because I haven't been able to follow this as closely as I would like. So I want to say something that I'm out of line on, but I think you summed it up great.
If people want more information on this, and really just go watch this, even if you don't, because it's so informative that you'll be happy you did. People Make Games, his videos on this, and really all his videos.
I should check that out.
He is on the ground there talking to the people. He was already talking to those people before this happened because he was going to do a story about them starting a union and how cool that was. And so he was there, and he's like, what the fuck? It's very insightful, and he's a smart guy over there.
Okay.
All right, last thing here. AMD's next gen FSR Redstone brings big gains as long as you're using a new GPU. So this is FSR 5 or Redstone, I guess is essentially FSR 5. They have added a bunch of new features. They are features that have mostly been in DLSS for a few years now, which is a good way of assessing where FSR is. As usual, it's a couple steps behind DLSS. This does close the gap. This puts it a little bit closer to DLSS in terms of how things are performing, but it doesn't they're not leapfrogging one another. AMD is always just a step behind. You will need the new generation of AMD cards, so like a 9070 or whatever. Is that where they are? Yeah. You'll need one of the newest generation of cards to take advantage of this. That does feel like maybe the right move these days because the openness of FSR is really cool. But but let's get all of the features in there because people are going to be spending a lot of money on these cards. Give them some bespoke special stuff that works because they spent that money. And if that unlocks you and enables you to do all the extra stuff, I think that will only be a good thing. AMD has the potential to compete with NVIDIA. It's just they have to stick at it and really kind of see it through and believe in themselves a little bit. I see you've written, but wait, there's more. What's happening here?
Hang on. Oh, that's the next story. That's the next
Oh,
story.
okay, it's a different story. I wanted to make. Okay, gotcha.
Different story.
All right.
I used your formatting and everything, old man.
When I first looked at it, it was small, and then I just looked back and saw it's a big headline here. You're like, oh, I understood after I started talking.
Anyways, yeah, the FSR stuff. It is cool to see AMD start to be competitive here because NVIDIA was just the reason that their stuff is so good. They're sweet with like DLSS and everything, and even out the multi-frame gen, which some people like, some people really don't.
Yeah.
They were just so far ahead of the curve. They were forward thinking in that, and you gotta give them credit for that. But it is good to see now everyone else catching up to that, like AMD. And I don't really know what's going on with Intel. There's weirdness there about their graphics department. They're saying they're still going to keep going with it, even though they do have the whole NVIDIA thing going on. But it is nice to see more open alternatives being creative. And yes, you will need new hardware. That's because you physically need new hardware. Like this kind of stuff can't be done on older hardware that didn't have all the specific computer chips and stuff that's needed on the card in order to make this all happen. Like you could do it in software, but it has such a hilariously high performance hit that you wouldn't want to. It's like how you can have a ray trace game running at what was it, like Quake RTX or whatever, that was running, it runs with DLSS at like 60 FPS on a 5080 or something, or whatever the generational divide is there. It's like, I think it was the 4080 Digital Foundry tested that on. Then they went back, what about the 2080 Ti? That's a really powerful chip. Or I think it might have been the 1080. Yeah, it was 1080 Ti because they were testing ray tracing, and 1080 didn't have it. Still a really powerful card, and it was like 2 FPS because of course it is. You need that specific hardware. I mean, that's what we're seeing here.
There's all kinds of very specific maths being done in all these situations where it's like, oh, you need the actual, like you're saying, the specific processor that understands what's happening there to do the stuff like the where they can the ray regeneration, yes, and then they have to apply a denoising algorithm on top of that, and these are things that they kind of have to develop as bespoke things that are happening in specific areas of the card. So AMD has that now, and that's exciting because the ray regeneration and the denoising stuff really is when ray tracing came together for the NVIDIA cards. I remember playing Cyberpunk and testing that out when that happened in like 2023. Be like, okay, it does look markedly improved. And it's running in a way that I think is mostly acceptable because now they have this frame generation. And you're right, NVIDIA since then has done multi-frame generation. AMD still only has single frame generation. That also still introduces input lag a little bit. So, all this stuff is a give and take. But I'm glad to see AMD continues to push on these things. They could cede this to NVIDIA, especially when everyone's worried about what's happening over in AI. But it sounds like AMD's teams continue to plug away at this stuff in a way that I'm happy to see.
Yeah, me too, especially because, AMD is looking appealing in their own way because they are better over on Linux, which I am using more of. I haven't talked about it much because I'm not confident enough. I don't feel like I know enough about the ecosystem to solve everyone's problems that they might come to me about and like ask about. So, but AMD is better over there. So it's good to see that they have their alternative, more open alternatives, because competition is good. And look, NVIDIA could use a little competition because monopolies are bad. It's good to see people competing against each other so that way everyone can be at their best at all times.
Yep. All right, but wait, there's more.
Yeah, Jeff, you didn't put this one in here, even though I'm on the show. The Evo lineup got announced last night.
My bad. I apologize to Sean. I hope he accepts it. We'll have to see everybody.
So they did do the Evo Japan lineup, but I will focus on the one here for Evo Las Vegas, as it's called nowadays. So your games are Street Fighter 6, Tekken 8, Fatal Fury, City of the Wolves, Grand Blue Fantasy versus Rising, bit of a mouthful, Under Night in Birth 2, and Rivals of Aether 2.
All right.
What's missing? It's double wide this year, Jeff. There are no side games, no extended.
What?
There's community tournaments, but there's no extended lineup. It's all main stage lineup. So on the other
Saudi
half,
money. Let's go.
well, we'll get into that. The other half includes Guilty Gear Strive, Virtua Fighter 5 Revo, 2XKO,
Right.
Blaze Blue Central Fiction from many years ago,
Whoa.
Invincible Versus. They're saying that will be out and
Whoa,
and
okay.
like ready to be competed in at Evo, and Vampire Savior. Darkstalkers are not dead, baby.
That's crazy, actually. Okay, that's fun. All right, I'm
Yeah.
excited. What are the vibes around all of this, especially in the wake of the Saudi purchase?
So that's the kicker.
That's, oh, shit. Okay.
So they announced a minimum prize pool. I still think it was like the wording was a little murky in the announcement. I haven't seen anything to the contrary. The prize pool for each game, minimum $500,000. I'm like, am I hearing that and reading that right? Like,
for
again,
each game?
It's pool. So like,
okay, right, yeah,
but
yeah.
Damn, that's Saudi money right there, huh? Whoa.
Yeah, man.
So
okay.
and that's the kind of thing that had some people talking of like, I see. So this is the trade-off, huh? A lot of money, a lot of like improved production and everything like that. But we know who's backing Evo nowadays and who owns half of it. So I don't know. It's a weird situation to be in because I've been able to go to the past 3 Evos and the event gets better and better and better. But this year I'm like, I kind of just didn't want to go. But maybe I go for work to like cover stuff because that would be a missed opportunity and everything, and like the announcements and everything. I don't know. It's a weird situation to be in. I'm still trying to figure out how I feel about it and everything because I do really respect some of the people who work over there at Evo. I think Rick does a great job with every event he runs, and like I know his politics. I don't want to put words into anyone's mouth. I'm sure he's dealing with all of this as well. Maximilian already announced he will not be attending Evo this year. He'll still restream it, for the community and everything like that. But he's like, I don't want to be associated with a government entity. And that's like, his stance on it and kind of how I feel about it too. I wouldn't be there in that capacity, but even like attending feels icky at this point. So yeah, I'm processing a lot of things. The highs of all the announcements last night and also the lows of the ethics of it all,
Yep. Yeah. It is so challenging to have a sort of backbone in a world where there's no moral consumption under capitalism. It's like no matter where you turn, you're going to find something that is vile, but it's like you still have to draw a line somewhere, and it is challenging. Listen. Go. If you're a competitor, though, go take the money. I'm not going to judge you for it. I get it. Like,
I wouldn't blame anyone at this point.
Paid,
like
whatever.
It sucks,
take their money
but,
and do something good with it. I don't know. Yeah. It sucks, but that's what it is. All right, that does it for the headlines. Let's get to the poll question we had from Monday's show. Let me see.
Dude, I forgot to get the graphic. Yeah, you'll have to.
Yeah, no problem. Take your time. Let's see here. I'm going to refresh. Okay, there we go. This is from earlier this week. Did you buy a console for Black Friday? Your options were PS5, Xbox, Switch 1, or Switch 2, or nope. I'm going to go with nope. And it's going to ask me to sign in. Incredible. I love this website. That's cool, and you're not going to let me do that. So I'm going to go over here instead. Let's see here. YouTube.com/@GiantBomb. Actually, Sean, do you have the results?
The results can absolutely be grabbed here. I will say nope. Because, okay, so did you buy a console for Black Friday? Which 1 or 2 had 3% of the vote? PS5 had 2%. Xbox had 1%, which means 94% of the vote was nope.
Yep. It is interesting, though. It's like, that's 6,000 votes here. A lot of people came through on this one. So, that's still a fair number of people purchasing stuff. And it's like, 2 to 1 for PS5 to Xbox. And then, the Switch 1 and 2 is like, 33% more than the PS5 with our audience. But then we saw those numbers. PS5 was by far number one in terms of making money on Black Friday. And part of that is going to be it's a little bit on average more expensive than the Switch, but had a deep discount. So no, I think it's just like with the average consumer out there, this was the moment to hop on the PlayStation 5. It really felt that way.
Yeah, and I think these results make sense with our audience because
Yes.
people already have consoles at this point in a generation. If you wanted to Switch 2, you probably bought a Switch 2 already. It's been accessible, easy to buy. So I think this makes a lot of sense.
Oh yeah, for sure. The 94%, you're right. If you're listening to this, you're getting consoles much earlier than the average person. All right, we have a new poll question we will get to in a second. Before we do that, Sean, tell people where they can find you on the internet, what you have going on, all that good stuff, other than just being in the giant bomb mines all week.
Yeah, that's mostly it. But yeah, TurboShawn everywhere on the internet, SHAWN. I was on the Bombcast with you guys yesterday talking about a lot of Metroid, a whole lot of Metroid Prime 4, and how we have a big range of opinions on that game, which I think, if nothing else, like makes the game interesting to talk about.
It was a good conversation. Yeah.
I think it was a good conversation too. And then I also talked about Unbeatable, which I still have not quite finished up. I apparently have the finale to do tonight. I keep playing in like 2-hour chunks. And I don't know, that game, they did the day one patch for Unbeatable. It seems to have fixed a lot of the bugginess, but there's still some jank to it. So I'll warn people, if you really like what I have to say about it on the Bombcast, still a little bugginess there. So just, the RB Dragons and everything. But yeah, we'll be talking over the Game Awards tomorrow. It's going to be a fun week of stuff here at Giant Bomb going into Game of the Year season. By the way, if you haven't done so already, I'll make sure to put up the Blue Sky post after this. Go to tinyurl.com/gbmusic25. That's 25. If you want to submit songs for our Music of the Year category, which I'll be putting together over the next couple of weeks here. No guarantees that your chosen song will make it in, but I like to get the community involved, so that way I try not to miss anything. I try not to miss any games that have a really good soundtrack that maybe I didn't play, or songs from a soundtrack that I may have missed out on. So again, tinyurl.com/gbmusic25 if you want to help out.
I am muted. There we go. All right. New poll question. What kind of GPU do you have? NVIDIA, AMD, Intel, or I don't know / don't have PC? We will get the results of that. Talk about it here on Game S Mornings here on Giant Bomb tomorrow. Speaking of Giant Bomb, Blight Club's happening today, right? Yeah, it's Wednesday. We're doing Blight Club, everyone. That'll happen.
God, why did I agree to produce this? Oh no, I had to actually sit and later lose.
It really is better when it's like more people are suffering with me. Like that it really does help to like lessen a blow. I don't know what that is.
Yeah, you got like 1,200 of your closest friends to sit in.
Exactly. Everyone else come in here, be miserable with this game. I'm not even playing. It's Mike, and it's just the worst. So yeah, that'll be happening today. He is not going to finish it today. We are still deep into the box office bust. But yeah, don't miss it. That'll be a good time. We will be also, like I said, the talkover's happening tomorrow. So 6:30-ish p.m. We will kind of be starting to get set up. We will be live by 7, and then the pre-show starts at 7:30. So yes. Come hang out with us tomorrow.
Eastern.
That's all Eastern time. Yes, all Eastern time. So I guess that'd be 4 p.m. Pacific time. So come in, hang out with us, everybody, and let's react to some game trailers and see if anything cool is going to happen. It'll be a good time. Okay. Anything else, Sean? I think we did the poll question. I think I just got to say, hey, Sean, thank you so much for hanging out with me today and talking about video games, man. I really appreciate it.
Always fun.
Thank you all for watching and listening. You are the best audience in gaming. Until next time, have a good one. Take care of yourself. And goodbye.